October 7th, 2001. A plane takes off from Whitman Air Force Base, Missouri, flies 9,500 kilometers, strikes its targets in Afghanistan, and returns to base without being seen on radars. This is B-2 Spirit bomber, a 50-meter-wide giant with no tail, acts like a ghost in the sky, and penetrates the world's most sophisticated air defenses, making it most expensive aircraft ever built. But it wasn't built just to be expensive, it was built to be invisible.
The Air Force unveiled its newest stealth bomber aircraft today.
It's called the B-2 Spirit bomber. It can carry a so-called bunker buster bomb capable of penetrating 200 feet inside a target.
So, how did this sci-fi-looking ghost aircraft come to exist? How does a $2 billion machine appear no larger than a fly on radar?
I've seen planes of all different ways, but I never saw anything like this one.
The story begins with an incident. On May 1st, 1960, a US Lockheed U-2 aircraft took off from the Peshawar Air Base in Pakistan on a secret CIA mission to spy on the Soviet Union. It was the Cold War era, and both the US and the USSR were racing to outdo each other with their technology. The US believed that its U-2 spy plane, flying at 80,000 feet, was untouchable at such high altitudes. They assumed no Soviet missile could reach that height. But as soon as the aircraft entered Soviet airspace, their radar picked it up immediately. Several fighter jets and missiles were launched, but hitting it at such an altitude proved difficult, until the Soviet military locked onto it with their S-75 Divina missile and fired. The US was aware of this missile but thought it couldn't reach such heights. The S-75 missile hit the U-2 at 80,000 feet with deadly precision. The pilot ejected himself, and plane crashed near the city of Yekaterinburg. Initially, the US claimed it was a NASA weather research aircraft, but when the USSR presented the captured pilot and surveillance equipment to the world, America faced global embarrassment. This incident was a wake-up call for both nations. The USSR improved its air defense, while the US focused on developing technology that could literally become invisible to radar. At the time, the US had B-52 bombers, but it became clear that if one tried to enter Soviet territory, it would be shot down instantly. This meant that America couldn't use its nuclear weapons against Russia, even if it wanted to. By 1976, the USSR had developed surface-to-air missiles like the S-300, which could strike aircraft from 100 kilometers away. Soviet air defense became so strong that an American Air Force general said, "Sending a B-52 into the USSR was like throwing a rock at a wasp's nest." That was the moment when US wanted to make a strong and secret weapon. And finally, in 1978, US launched the Advanced Technology Bomber Program. Its goal to develop a bomber that could infiltrate Soviet territory, drop bombs undetected, and escape unnoticed. And the result was the B-2 bomber, which first flew in 1989 and was revealed to the world in 1997. This is B-52 Stratofortress and B-1 Lancer. These are the US's top strategic bombers and utilized for conventional and nuclear missions. But now, the B-2 took their place in terms of payloads, stealth, and advanced technology. If US wants to bomb against none or less air defenses, they can use Stratofortress, which are huge but easily detectable. And if there are older or not very sophisticated air defenses, the US can use B-1 Lancers, which can evade some radars by flying at low altitudes and up to 900 miles per hour. But if there are highly advanced air defenses, the US uses B-2 Spirit, the world's only stealth bomber. Basically, stealth means radar's very hard time detecting it. And if we look on the radars, this 50-meter-wide giant seems like a fly in the air and can destroy its target before the enemies could track it down. So where did the stealth idea came from? Back in World War II, when Nazi Germany had conquered much of Europe, and Britain looked like it was next, the Americans were planning to send bombers and destroy the Nazis. But their best bomber like B-17 and B-24 had not enough capability to reach Europe, strike Nazi targets, and return home. And they wanted to build a new, enormous, at least 2 or 3 times larger than existing heavy bombers. But at that time, one aircraft designer Jack Northrop presented his new innovation, the flying wing, no fuselage, no tail, just one sweeping aerodynamic shape. Impressed with his concept, the Air Force ordered Northrop and his small team of engineers to develop the new bomber. Northrop's dream actually took flight in the form of the B-49, a massive jet-powered flying wing with a 50-meter wingspan. It was very ahead of its time, but there was a problem. Without modern computers, it was very hard to control it. Due to this reason, the two B-49 had been destroyed and government had to shut down this project. When US Air Force initiates the ATB program looking for a bomber, they gave the chance to Northrop and Lockheed to prove themselves. The Northrop design was larger and had curved surfaces, while the Lockheed design was faceted and included a small tail. In October 1979, Northrop team's ATB design was selected over the Lockheed design and received the designation B-2 and the name Spirit. The B-2 design was similar to B-49, and its radar cross-section is shockingly very low. Radar cross-section means how much an object is detectable. If we see other jets on radar, a B-52 bomber looks like a two-bedroom apartment. An F-15 is the size of a small room. A JF-17 is like a single bed, and the Rafale appears as large as a big pillow. Despite being 10 times larger than all of them, the B-2 appears radar-wise as small as a fly. But B-2's shape doesn't only make it stealth. It's body-coated with a special secret material that absorbs 100% of radar signals. This secret coating is still undisclosed by the US, but most of the body is made out of a carbon graphite composite material, which is stronger than steel, lighter than aluminum, and absorbs a significant amount of radar energy. But what makes it a true stealth bomber is its electronic countermeasures. This system detects the frequency of enemy radar and sends back false signals, deceiving enemy radar systems into tracking a fake target rather than the B-2. But it doesn't stop there. The B-2 also leaves behind almost no heat signature, making it invisible to heat-seeking and infrared-guided missiles. Normally, air defense systems use infrared surveillance to detect the heat trail behind a jet. But the B-2 hides its engines inside the body, and hot exhaust gases are cooled by mixing with cold air before being released, leaving behind no detectable heat trail. That's why if an F-16 can be spotted from 100 kilometers away, and the B-2 won't be seen until it's within 10 kilometers. And even then, it rarely flies low enough to be within that range. The B-2 can fly as high as 50,000 feet and can travel 11,000 kilometers in one full fuel tank with the cost of around $200,000 per hour. If we talk about its crew, the B-2 has a crew of 2, B-1 has 4, and B-52 has crew of 5. On July 17, 1989, the American dream of long-range stealth bomber took his first flight and ready to rewrite the rules of aerial warfare. Until now, the 21 B-2 Spirits have been ever built with the cost of $2 billion each. In 2025, 19 B-2s are in the service, one was destroyed in a 2008 crash, and another one damaged in a crash in 2022 was retired from service. This stealth giant can carry 40,000 pounds of explosives, equivalent of 15 cars. Inside its belly, it can store 80 GPS-guided bombs, 16 nuclear bombs, and 16 joint air-to-surface missiles, which are stealth cruise missiles. These weapons are stored in internal bays with closed doors to maintain stealth during flight. It can also carry 2 bunker buster bombs, capable of penetrating concrete over 60 feet deep. On June 21, 2025, 7 B-2 bombers loaded with 14 bunker buster bombs destroyed 3 of the most secure Iranian nuclear sites and returned home without the world knowing. It was also used in Operation Allied Force in Serbia, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and Operation Odyssey Dawn in Libya. The B-2 is not just a bomber, it's a symbol. A signal to allies and adversaries alike that the US has the capability to strike anywhere, anytime, without warning. Even as newer stealth aircraft like the B-21 Raider begin to emerge, the B-2 Spirit remains a cornerstone of strategic deterrence. With regular upgrades and modernization, it continues to evolve, proving that even decades after its first flight, it's still one of the most advanced flying machines ever made.